It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Wednesday, July 30th, your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high-quality content that is asking what's at stake for the Flyers veterans this season.
You're Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. I've been podcasting about the Flyers, the NHL, and hockey for a decade now, and I'm here with prospect expert and Flyers credentialed reporter for 20 years, Russ Cohen. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNHL. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. To keep up with our latest episodes and Flyers news, you can find us at Locked On Flyers on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Twitter. And of course, here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are going to dig into some of those veteran players as opposed to some of those more younger or borderline players we talked about on the Monday show. We're going to get to Sean Couturier and Owen Tippett, Travis Konecny, all that good stuff on today's show, as well as your mailbag questions. First, some Flyers news and a World Junior Summer Showcase check-in. The Rookie Showcase is back, Russ.
Yeah.
I love the Rookie Showcase because I think, it's obviously the culmination of rookie camp right before it transitions over into main training camp. This year, it's Friday, September 12th, Saturday, September 13th, as always at PPL Center in Allentown, where the Phantoms play against the New York Rangers kids. So it's great because it's easy for the Rangers fans to travel, and for them, it's great for Flyers fans. This is like one of my favorite things that they do in the
I'm going to try and get there this year. I couldn't get there last year, so I do like it as well.
Yeah, it'll be really good. And I think that, we'll have a good sense by then who's going to stick around for main camp and who's going back to wherever they came from at that point. But it's always a good thing to get to play against different players and not just look at internal scrimmages and stuff like that. So glad to see that return for sure. I will also be trying to get to one of those games, hopefully on the Friday game, but we will see. The World Junior Summer Showcase is continuing, and we had a couple of games for each of the split squad Team USA lineups. And interestingly, Jack Murtagh and Shane Van Sage were on the same team on USA White, and they were kind of like wingers on a quote unquote fourth line, but they did a 3-center rotation. So it's kind of hard to say what the lines were per se.
Yeah.
And not that it matters in a split squad in the World Junior Summer Showcase, to be honest. But what does matter is like what they can show in terms of the ice time that they did get. And so this USA White squad faced Finland in their first game on Sunday, and Shane Van Sage scored in that game with some help from Jack Murtagh. So love to see that connection there.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, those things are good. I mean, I've watched some highlights. You see some defensemen are backing up on stuff. I mean, they wouldn't back up if it was the
nobody
regular
wants to get hurt.
No,
That's
but
really what
guys
it
are
is.
still getting hurt, unfortunately.
Well, yes,
because
Zane
it's hockey.
Break is out. Yeah.
I mean, it happens.
So I know.
So but it's good. The familiarity part's very good.
Yeah, that is good. Now on the other side of that lineup, Heikki Ruohonen had an assist on one of Finland's 2 goals in that game. Those were the only 2 goals of the game for Finland, falling 5-2 in that game. Max Westerberg was the left wing on the third line in that game. Jack Berglund is over on Team Sweden. He had a goal in their 5-2 win for Sweden over USA Blue. That didn't have any Flyers prospects on that team. Heikki Ruohonen got another assist in his second game out there. He's been the 1C in these couple of games for Finland, which is really good to see. I think him stepping up, and he's at that age and in that
Yeah,
point.
I mean, he's a returning guy. So,
right.
That's good to see him doing that. Like you said, there's some progression there.
There is. Now, obviously, we don't know the outcome of Team Canada's intra-squad game. It is kind of a weird one because it is intra-squad. They're doing like something you would expect in having like planned special teams portions of the game and a shootout no matter what and all that. So it kind of just feels like a training camp game in a lot of ways.
It is.
So I'm not going to really care about it until Canada narrows down the roster and faces some other teams. And we'll talk about it on the Friday show. Now, we have been talking about what's at stake for the Flyers individually for this upcoming season. We started on Monday with some of the younger guys and the guys that had maybe had some issues last season, that they need some redemption arcs coming up. We've talked about Sam Ersson. We talked about like some borderline, some biggest to gain, biggest to lose sort of guys. But there's some other players on the team, and there's some like middle-agers and veterans that they're locked into significant contracts, and so there isn't really like a contract year giving them any extra motivation. And it is a weird year in the rebuild, right? In terms of we're not really expecting much forward progress from a record perspective. So what exactly is at stake for some of the Flyers veterans here, and how do they stay motivated to improve or to contribute this upcoming season? And I want to start with Owen Tippett because I think he's the name that comes up the most, and we did see his name a little bit in the comments, so we'd already planned to talk about him. So good thinking from some of our listeners out there that, for him, he's already locked in at $6.2 million through 2032 for the Flyers, right? But this is his last year with no trade clause, right?
Yep.
So after that, he can provide a 10-team no trade list. So it's not a complete no trade clause, but it does limit what the Flyers can do with him. And I think, a lot of us have been saying at this point that this is like a pivotal year for him in terms of, is he a part of this Flyers future?
Yeah, I think regardless of how he does based on his contract status, that if I'm Danny Briere, I don't keep him out of trade discussions. I don't. Because two things. You don't know what the impact, good or bad, will be with the new coach, with Rick Tocchet. And then the other thing is, I did a little digging, and I'm sure the Flyers have done this kind of digging too, but like Sport Tax Company, they kind of like looked at players and cap hits. And so like Owen Tippett is at like 164th. Interestingly enough,
is one good or bad though in this conversation?
Well, I'm going to give you somebody who's behind him at 170 and Tyler Toffoli. So, on the surface, you'd say, I want both guys to score 30 goals. And Toffoli did last year, and he did 3 times. Tippett is yet to do it, but that was the talk when they gave him the contract. And so I looked at Toffoli's shooting percentage, and it's 12.9. Tippett's highest ever was 11.7. Like, that's his highest ever. And so, like, that conversation talking about Owen Tippett being a 30-point guy is waning, is basically my point. Because if I'm a team looking for a 30-point goal scorer, even though Toffoli's 33, I'm going Toffoli every day. He costs a little less, and he's got a track record. Tippett, this is like, to me, this is like a crossroad. Like, it's like you either have to show it out of the gate, or if I'm the Flyers, the best way I could put it is there are players you need to kind of get you there, and then there's players you want to be there. Right. And he might just be a get you there guy. Danny may have gotten a little too aggressive with that contract based on, the fact that it was involved with Claude Giroux and whatever. Organizations attach things to deals like that and feel like they have to follow through on it sometimes. And I get it. There is upside there, and there still might be upside, but I always think it's a bad idea when you attach it to something else like that, to try and say that, well, look, this is what we got for Claude Giroux. This is great. After 2 years after Claude Giroux's gone, it doesn't really matter. I don't think people talk about it, but teams seem to want to always justify it. And this could be a bad justifiable point. It could turn out that way.
I don't know that led to any of this. I mean, you look at his numbers for the 2 years that got him the contract, really, where, he had a steady amount of goals. He went 27 goals, 28 goals. It looked like he could hit 30 goals when he was in his stride there. He went from 49 points to 53 points. And I think more importantly, I know this is sometimes a bogus statistic, but for Owen Tippett in particular, given his playing style, his defensive play was utter garbage, and he cleaned it up quite a bit.
Clean it up. I give him that.
And so you look at that trajectory, he went from -17 to -5 over the previous 2 years. Now, this is before last season, after he already had the contract, right? So in that headspace, you're like, yeah, we can give him the contract. Like,
but remember, like, he is the guy they scouted. They had made a big deal about it to go get it for Giroux, right? Like, so there is something attached, I get that. I think. Yeah,
there is. I just think that there was also the players' actions and stats that kind of led to that sort of deal. But I do think that, for him, like, if he wants to be a Philadelphia Flyer and have him be part of the future and not getting them to the future, as you said, he's got to really have a remarkable year. And he had 20 goals last season. He's got to get back up at least into the high 20s this season, I think, to be considered. Otherwise, he's got to be a trade deadline consideration with salary retention, because nobody's taken 6.2. And they don't want to get in that mess. So they're in a the Flyers side of things are in a tough spot. It makes it even harder for Owen Tippett.
But you have to make it now, because if you let that turn into a 10-team trade thing down the line, it really limits what you can do. And so, some people might say, hey, this is kind of tough that you're talking about this like right now, but this is why these things are in contracts. In case you always have to have an escape hatch. Doesn't matter how good you think a player is. Bottom line.
Yep. Exactly. So there's a lot riding on Owen Tippett's season for both him and the Flyers. The other veterans here, your Travis Konecny, your Travis Sanheim, Sean Couturier, they're locked into long-term deals. What are they playing for this upcoming season? We are going to talk about them coming up next. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day. You suddenly realize you want to be in the stands, and that's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Gametime makes it possible. Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on their app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch. They've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a low price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Gametime is the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB, making it easy to browse in the app for an exciting upcoming baseball game. And of course, I'm going to say get a ticket to the next Phillies game, because that's who I root for here. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem with the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. On the Friday show, we are going to continue some of these discussions with some other players and look at some earlier contracts in the Briere era and see how that's going. We're going to talk Porter Martone and World Junior Summer Showcase and his Michigan decision. Plus, we're going to have your poll results to the question we asked you on Monday about who you think has the most at stake this upcoming season for the Flyers. So if you haven't answered that question yet, get to it. It's in the show notes. The link is right there. It's on our YouTube channel. And let us know what you think. All right. So looking at some of our veterans here, in a year, again, like we just talked about in the last segment, where the expectations for the Flyers are really to adjust to the Rick Tocchet system and maybe show some improvement marginally from a record perspective. So if you're Sean Couturier, the captain of the Philadelphia Flyers here, you're locked in at $7.75 million through 2030. It's not a contract year. Like, what's at stake for you as the captain of the Flyers this year?
It's sort of his reputation in the sense that this is Sean Couturier 2.0. He's never going to be the Sean Couturier of 5 years ago. Like, I think even he realizes that now. Won't admit it, but it's okay. He's prideful. I get it. But I think he's adjusting his game accordingly. You're never going to get your contract money's worth out of Sean Couturier, and no team will take him in a trade because of it. Doesn't mean he's not worth anything to your team, because he is. But, his faceoffs are still really good at 56%. The thing that was kind of strange, and it doesn't make sense, is he had 5 power play points, yet he still averaged a minute 30 on the power play. Take him off the power play. There's no point in having Sean Couturier on the power play anymore.
Yeah, keep him on the PK, though. That's for sure.
PK is good. Like, he might get points that way too, and the game slows down a little too on the PK. So that's fine. But take him off the power play. It doesn't make sense anymore. He's not that guy. Other than that, 45 points, that's probably what you could expect. Like, he was almost a point a game player. Now he's a little more than a half a point a game player. All right. I mean, he doesn't take bad penalties. His shooting percentage is down because he doesn't shoot as much. He's, going to play 1C probably. I mean, I'm sure Tocchet's going to start him that way.
Yeah.
So really, he's more like a defensive 1C who scores a little bit. Like, what he started out as a rookie is what he is now, even though he had already reached a higher. It's weird, but that's what he's sort of
weird. Yeah.
Returning to.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because as captain, for me, that's a lot of where his motivation comes in. And that's what's at stake for him as a leader, because he's had to guide this group, even with its changes over the past several years, through multiple coaches, through multiple systems.
And a lot of baloney with the last coach. Let's be real.
Yeah. And in terms of his own individual experience, right? And he dealt with it like a champ, I'm going to say.
Oh, no, he could have complained a lot and really did not.
Yeah, I think he did the absolute best he could and excelled as captain given those circumstances. Now, is he a hugely vocal captain? No, but he kind of guides through his actions, right? He's similar to Claude Giroux in that way.
He is similar to Claude Giroux. That's a really good way of saying it.
And Claude Giroux was his role model. Yeah. Because who else was was really captain for Sean Couturier to role model himself after. So I get it. Like, it makes sense. But I think that for Sean Couturier, he's got to lead these younger players that are getting folded into the system, lead by example, and put it out there on the ice, but also like really show that he's bought into whatever Rick Tocchet is selling.
Yeah, I think he will. I mean, he's always a amenable guy. Like he's a chameleon that way. He'll whatever Tocchet's system is, he can do. It's not a problem. It's just there's a limitation with him. How many games you play him, how many minutes you play him. That's all what's going to matter here.
Yeah. Now with the Travi, I think, and the reason why I link them together, even though Konecny and Sanheim are in different kind of boats right now, not only positionally, but in terms of maybe potential role with this team and how it's going to look over the next 3 to 5 years. Travis Konecny is locked in through 2033. Travis Sanheim is locked in through 2031. And I think that with the two of them, obviously they have their Olympic hopes guiding a lot of what they're going to be doing, especially with Rick Tocchet on the coaching staff of Team Canada. I think it's a really interesting environment for those two this upcoming season, because not only do they have to continue to do what they've been doing and be leaders, and like Travis Sanheim has to be the guy on the blue line, right? And run this blue line group. Travis Konecny had the scoring title for the Flyers this past season, but has Matvei Michkov nipping at his heels. And I think, there's that aspect of it too. But I think the dynamic for those two in particular is especially interesting this season.
Yeah. And Konecny self-admitted that, hey, maybe the Olympics did take something out. Not the Olympics, the Four
The Four
Nations took
Nations.
something out of
Yeah.
me. And so we'll see how he approaches it this year, because he definitely was less effective after that. We all saw that, and he knew that. And so that's something where that's a personal challenge. Like, he wants to be on that Olympic team. I don't blame him. Will both of these players be on it? I don't know. That's a tough one. But they're both going to train like they're both going to make it. So you would think that the Flyers should get the gains out of this. But again, that's what we'll see is look, again, Sanheim, I think, opened up a lot of people's eyes that don't watch him every day like we do. So I think he did that. Is he a true number one? No, everybody knows he's not. But he's playing a good role that he could get away with it, and it's fine for now. I don't know if it'll be fine in 2 years, but right now it's fine. So,
well, you say 2 years, and that's interesting because for Travis Sanheim on his contract, he's got 2 more years of a full no trade clause in his deal. And after that, it goes down to a 12-team list. So, as far as this season, does that really affect his game? No. But it is something to think about down the road.
Well, I say 2 years, and maybe the Flyers were sort of thinking this way. I say 2 years because you figure that's how long I'm giving them to get a true number one. 2 more years. So if you draft him this year, maybe he's there in 2 more years. If you're getting it on the free agent market, which is hard because like someone like Ekblad just re-signed, like where are you getting that guy? You usually don't. But if you do, I've sort of given him 2 years. And maybe when they signed that deal, they were kind of like, okay, he could cover this spot for this long, but we should have it solved by then. So they may have been thinking the same thing, but we'll see if it comes to fruition or not.
Yeah. So I do think there are things for these veterans to play for. I do want, as a side note, to mention Rasmus Ristolainen because he is a veteran player. He has $5.1 million through 2 more years this upcoming season and the following season, which I think
look
for
horrible when he was healthy, but now that he's unhealthy, it's tough.
His entire reason for existence right now is staying healthy. And I just like there's nothing else to it at this point. If he's healthy, he can contribute, and if he's not, it's going to be tough.
It's a drag.
It's a real drag on the on the cap and on the Flyers blue line because they really need a guy like him.
Because I mean, honestly, new coach, right? Rick Tocchet. He's not going to see him in camp. Like he'll be there, but he can't play. He's not going to. He's still recovering. He's probably not starting the season. He's probably a month out. Rick Tocchet probably has 0 expectations for this player. He can't even think about him. He won't be like John and be like, well, I don't care. I'm not talking to him or thinking about him until he's here. He won't be like that, but he also can't pencil him in for anything either. And that's
can't plan for it. So he's not going to build a blue line around it. That's for sure. All right. So we have your mailbag questions. Excited to get to some of them about Jamie Drysdale, some of the signings. We're going to get to that coming up next. Joel sent us an email with a couple of good questions. And the first one was, what is it with this trend of locking up so many players long-term? We see a lot of questionable contracts signed this off-season.
Well, I think because the free agent market wasn't what everybody wanted it to be and the cap went up, they were sort of reinvesting in the club. And I think that's what these teams were doing. And so like all of a sudden,
not just the Flyers. I think
a lot of teams, and
other teams more
took those players off the market essentially, and I think that was something that's really went around the league.
Yeah, I think just given the way the market was,
we talked about Ekblad last segment. He's an example.
Exactly. The second question was the depth players the Flyers signed apart from Vladar and Dvorak. Couldn't we find this depth within the system? These guys won't be worth much flipping at deadline. Either Juleson makes no sense at all to me. Now, I think Juleson made perfect sense, and it's because he's familiar to Rick Tocchet.
That's what it is.
That's entirely what it is. And with the Ristolainen question out there, Rick Tocchet needed somebody that he could hang his hat on, and he doesn't know these Flyers defensemen yet.
No.
And the guys that are in the system that could maybe have taken those spots either A, aren't ready because they need a little bit more time to cook in the minors, or again, they're just not known to Rick Tocchet. And so I think you just needed at least somebody who is familiar.
Yeah, and as far as Christian Dvorak not having the extra center depth, put things in a state of flux for a lot of last season. You know, what's Cates doing? Is he playing center? Or is he not playing center? What's Lawton doing? Is he playing center? Or is he not playing center? Like now there's a lot more certainty coming into this season at center because of this. And he's another really good faceoff guy. So now you have like a number 2 faceoff guy where Cates doesn't always have to be out there in bad situations.
Yep.
Because John Tortorella just threw him out there.
Put Dvorak out there and he'll actually win the faceoff.
Right.
I love you, Noah Cates, but you're not good at faceoffs.
And that'll help the team. Like it's not a shot at him. It's just, it's just a misuse of him.
Not everybody's good at everything.
Right. And he was Torts was always trying to say, let's see how much I can build him up. And he did build him up to a point. But I think, honestly, Noah Cates was going to build himself up anyhow, the way he is, the way he was in college. I think John helped him a little, but I think John also just hurt him with overuse, trying to make him the everything guy. And that's hard to be that.
It is. Paul commented, "Hi, Rachel and Russ. Really enjoy the show. Thanks for addressing some concerns. Question about Jamie Drysdale. If healthy, do you think the ability to take a step forward to drive play like a Letang type? Not comparing the two, but would love to see him get a green light to use his best ability, more his skating and his speed."
So I thought about it. If I go back to when he was with Erie, I remember interviewing him after a game, and I was excited for him in his draft year because of his speed and sort of the way he wanted to be the guy. And he had this confidence about him and this air about him. And so he would be able to make a lot of plays that you have to have a high confidence for. I think that confidence dropped a lot last year, and for good reason, different things. So I think his confidence has to get built up before we could even see him playing at his offensive best. I think he needs to be the starting guy on the point on the power play, and then he needs to see if he could actually do it. If he can't, then that's going to change how they look at Jamie Drysdale, especially with another contract coming. So it's a big year for him, and it's also going to be about coach usage. If all of a sudden in preseason, if Cam York is hitting the net and they like Cam York at the point on the power play, then it might be Cam York, and Jamie just can't do anything about it. And that might happen. And that's only on Jamie because he didn't grab hold of it last year. If he'd have grabbed hold of it last year, he'd be the definite for this year. But now this year, it's kind of up for grabs.
Right. I think with the power play this year, one of the things that I'm going to keep an eye on is how quick they are to pull the trigger to make changes to it, because the Flyers are kind of in desperation mode with the power play, and they're going to put a new system in place, which, yay, love that. But are they going to let it cook for a little bit? Are they going to let it work itself out and not make any rush to make changes because it's not working right away? And that's where Jamie Drysdale is going to get affected, because I think we're assuming that they're going to try him at the point there.
That's what I'm assuming.
I don't want to yank him too soon.
Right.
I agree really
with that.
don't.
There's no reason to do it unless he just looks bad out there. He never looks bad, but let's face it, he didn't look like what Jamie Drysdale should look like last year on the power play. Just for a lot of it. Some of it he did. When he was healthy and he came back, sure, there was a little head of steam there. And then it kind of died off and tailed off again. So you hope.
Yeah, I think so. I just really think that they have to let things settle with this power play. And if they're going to try something new, let's try it and give it a decent amount of time before we make changes just for the sake of making changes, because guys like Drysdale need the consistency to work it out.
They do.
All right. Ed sent us an email and started off saying, with some of the other Russian players in doubt for the Flyers at this point, especially the goalies, Ed is saying, therefore, Grebenkin should make the Flyers at left wing, a Russian as a comfort for Michkov on a line with Michkov and Zegras. Grebenkin adds size, strength, gritty, rugged, boards, net front, and passing. A heavy left winger seems like a good complement to Zegras and Michkov. Like, why or why not?
Well, I think the fact that he hasn't come to Philly yet is not great. And so I'll leave that one there. I think that's maybe the why not. The why is, there's a potential there, but he's going to have to show it. Like the Flyers did not hand him a position. And I think coming from the Leafs, he probably figured I can make this team and, was going to be instantly on this team, and he wasn't. And so I think that's an adjustment for him. So we'll see. Like, you may be right, but we really won't know that answer for a while.
Yeah, I think we're going to need at least a few months into this season for him with the Phantoms before we know that, because there was upheaval for him this past season. It was his first season over in North America. He gets traded partway through that season. To Russ's point, we haven't seen him training or dedicated to the organization locally. So that time sometimes affects things in the Flyers organization. And I think he just needs like a full year in the Flyers organization to figure out what we have in him, because he showed moments of really excellent play with the Phantoms and then moments where he didn't. So I think we just need more consistency there.
I think we have to remember, when we're dealing with Russian prospects, he played some NHL games. When he came over in the trade, I think he expected to play NHL games.
Yeah. So again, I think this is a wait and see with Grebenkin, but the thought process makes a ton of sense there, Ed. So we'll just see how it plays out. Now, on Monday's show, we had our nemesis of the week, and I happened to mention that my nemesis this week was Yankee Stadium. And Jim here was not thrilled by that. And said, if you add together the World Series titles of the Phillies and Mets, which is Russ's team, how many times would you have to multiply them to get to 27? LOL. 2 perennial losing teams. You can knock the stadium all you want, but it houses the greatest franchise in professional sports. Yes, Jim. That's why I'm mad on your behalf that the stadium is so terrible. You deserve a better stadium than Yankee Stadium.
For the franchise that has won all these championships, it's not a championship stadium. That's really what it is. So, yeah, you could talk about all those other things. I could get into how the Yankees haven't done it lately. It's been a while, dude. But it's fine. I get it.
And I'm here for the history.
I love the old Yankee Stadium, by the way.
Loved it.
Loved it. I sat behind home plate in the old Yankee Stadium against the Mariners one time. Ken Griffey Jr., A-Rod, I was watching them all from there. I love that place. I saw Tom Seaver win his 300th win there. Like, I love that place.
I sat in the bleachers of old Yankee
Stadium. I did too, in the World Series.
In the World Series against the San Diego Padres, one of the best baseball games I've ever been to in my life.
Yeah, I was in the bleachers in the World Series too there.
We are here for you, Jim. We want you to have a better stadium.
Yeah, I won't go to this stadium. Franchise. It's not worth it. Sorry, Jim.
Yeah. So that's how we feel. It's not jealousy. It's we want better for you. All right.
Well, I mean, I can't say it's not any jealousy.
Mets, it is for me.
Mets and Yankees, there's always going to be some, so I can't lie about that.
Please. But for me, it has nothing to do with jealousy. It's I want better for you as a Yankees fan. Anyway, that will do it for today's show. Thanks so much for listening. We will be back on Friday. And as a reminder, we always want to hear from you. If you want your questions answered on the show like we did today, you can send them in via email to lockedonflyers@gmail.com. You can let us know on any of our socials at Locked On Flyers or comment on our YouTube channel. I'm Rachel. I'm on Blue Sky and Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology on the same socials, SPORTSOLOGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen today. For your next listen, check out the Locked On NHL podcast. There is no offseason. It brings you the daily league-wide stories that matter most with local coverage you love from Locked On. I'm on the Friday show. Last week, we talked about all the new coaches in the NHL and what they have ahead of them this upcoming season. You can find it on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Have a great day, everyone.